Okay, so suicide, push, and drag are going to be a little bit different than how we're going to look to do a sacrifice. Okay, so sacrifice, do we want to be in the back of the box or the front of the box? Front of the box, right? So if we have our plate, and again, I'm facing the wrong way right now, but is the point of the plate in fair or foul territory?
Wait, I thought if it hits the plate, isn't it foul?
Where does the foul lines, is second base in fair or foul?
Second base is fair.
Third base.
Fair.
First base. Fourth base. Home plate. Fair. The foul lines start from the point of the plate. And if you hit the ball on the chalk, is that fair or foul?
Isn't it fair as long as it doesn't go out?
Fair. Okay, so everything is going to start from this point of the plate. Now, if I start in the back of the box, I'm actually standing in foul territory. So I have a lot more of a chance to bunt this ball foul, right? Whereas if I go to the front of the box, I'm standing in fair territory. I have a lot more fair territory that I'm going to be able to bunt into. Does that make sense? We don't want to necessarily show too early, okay? But we also don't want to show too late. A sacrifice is something where you are giving yourself up. You're going to be out. You want to be out, okay? So if we have runner on first base, okay, and we go to square and get it to the front of the box and we show, where generally are we going to look to try and bunt that ball? Third baseline?
Well, just like first, if you're trying to be out
first.
If you're trying to get on base.
Okay, and I'm going to be asking questions where it may seem obvious and it may not. I'm going to literally ask a question on every single one.
If this was first, second, or home, first, second, third, like
yep.
like in front of the pitcher's mound to the left.
Okay, and you're saying it doesn't matter?
Because I could get really into this.
No, and I want you to get really into this.
Righty pitcher, you're going to want to put the back side. Yeah, if you want to put the back side, so you have to turn around.
Okay, I like all the options. I love all the options, okay? Now, doesn't matter, not necessarily, but can we get to another like IQ level with it? Yes. So runner on first, okay? When we go to show, that third baseman is generally going to be the one that comes in, okay? First baseman may stay or may come in a little bit too. Generally at the next level, high school, college and everything, first baseman is going to stay, okay? Third baseman is going to crash. Pitcher is going to take over the first base side of everything. Now, if I go through and if I see that third baseman, if he comes in hard, okay, I'm probably going to look to try and go to first base, right? Because I don't want to bunt it straight to the third baseman. Now we have a double play, okay? If that third baseman kind of works their way in but isn't charging like crazy, we're most likely, if we can, going to try and go down third base. And here's why. If that third baseman has to come in to field this ball, if they're not crashing hard, they're probably not going to have the greatest ability to then go to second base with it. So they're going to have to go over to first. Now, if that third baseman is the one that's coming in and fielding that ball and throwing it, who's at third? It will be shortstop, but where's second base most likely supposed to go? Second baseman's going to need to, in case we do bunt to first, the first baseman is going to get this if it's hard. Second baseman's most likely in most bunt coverages. Now, there might be some different ones here and there, but the general bunt coverages, second baseman is still going to be going over to first. Shortstop is most likely going to go to second because if we bunt this right back to the pitcher, now that shortstop's at second, the catcher is the one that's supposed to change with a third baseman. It's called an exchange, okay? And so most likely at the high school level and sometimes even college, that catcher is going to forget or maybe be a step late to going on the, oh, I'm supposed to be at third. We might have an ability to have that runner go from first, if they get a really good jump, to go all the way to third, depending on their speed, if we're able to go down the third base side. Now, if we go to the first base side, they're most likely not going to have that ability anyways. So, like you said at the very beginning, doesn't really matter unless we start looking into those fine little things that give us that ability to possibly get that guy to go from first to third, okay? Now, runner on second base. Are we trying to go down third base or are we trying to go first base? First, sacrifice situation, everything's sacrifice. Still third? Okay, so we got third and then we got first, right?
Because then the first one, second is like leading off and they don't know if to go to second or go to first.
It's going to be the same thing as the original one. either or can work, okay? Because if we're going through, same idea as with the first base side, going to third base. What up, bud? Same idea, okay? So third baseman is going to look to stay at third. The pitcher is going to look to cover the third base side. First baseman is going to be charging hard. So if we see that first baseman, he's charging like crazy, and we go right to him, that's essentially he's going to be able to field it, make sure that runner stays at second base, now goes to first, and we're out. Now, if we go to third base, there is a possibility of either that third baseman having to make that decision of, that's hard enough, my pitcher's not going to get it, I have to get it. They vacated third base. Now our runner can go from second to third, and we're out. Again, we're sacrificing. Now, if that first baseman isn't crashing like crazy, then we can go either to third or to first, whichever one works. Does that make sense? Beautiful. Now, when we're going through and we're looking at how we look to bunt, okay, most likely we're going to look to start in the back of the box until that pitcher comes set. Once that pitcher starts working their way to their set position, now because we're sacrificing, we're giving ourselves up, we're going to look to show our bunt. We're going to get our bunt preset, and I'll walk you guys through what I mean by that in a second. We're going to get preset, and depending if we're going to third, we're going to take this knob. This knob's going to be our driver for this, okay? It's going to be our steering wheel. If I'm going to third base, I'm going to take this knob, and I'm going to pull it into my body, okay? And this is going to set my angle so that way I don't have to, as the pitch is coming, adjust where my bat is at plus my angle. Now all I have to worry about is adjusting to the pitch. Does that make sense? What you're saying is, what was your question again? To this angle right here? So we do not necessarily want this bat to be completely flat. We also don't want it to be at like necessarily 45. Me personally, yeah, I like it to be just a hair above the flat mark. So that way we can try and work to getting our face as close to this barrel as possible. It's almost a point where, and this is how I teach little guys how to catch pop flies, is you essentially want to get underneath the pop fly to where if you didn't do anything with your arms, that ball's going to hit you straight in the face. Now, raise your glove, put it in the way of your face, and now we're catching it. Same idea with this, okay? We're going to put it to essentially where our face is going to get hit by that ball, but we're going to put our barrel in front of it, all right? Now, with our hand positioning, okay? So when we're going to third, we're going to bring that knob in. When we're going to first, we're going to push that knob out, and that's going to preset our angle. Now, with our hand, so with our top hand, when we go to the front of the box, we're going to take this top hand, and we're going to slide it up the bat a little bit. That's going to give us a little bit more bat control with this. Now, whoever feels comfortable, that's most likely going to be closer to the center of the gravity point already. We want to essentially be able to hold this bat with our top hand without needing the bottom hand to assist us with it. So I don't want to be all the way down here, but I also don't want to be grabbing the barrel, right? And so with this, with our hand positioning, we don't want to be gripping it with our fingers overlaying the outside, okay? So we're essentially going to take our thumb and our index finger, and we're going to almost make like a little like V, and we're going to fit that bat right into that V. Now, yeah, exactly. Now, this is where it's going to change a little bit, okay? If we are trying to do a sacrifice, we're not going to want this ball to hit off our bat hard because we want the ball to kind of die, right? So that's what a lot of people think you need to do, is to give like this. We're actually going to have a really soft grip with our hand, with our top hand. So as that ball comes in, our bat is almost going to get pushed into the web of our thumb and our index finger. And that's going to deaden the blow of the impact, which is going to make it to where the ball doesn't go out as far. Now, this is all in a sacrifice situation. Here in a little bit, I'll talk about pushes, where we get into a point where we're going to have a little bit more of a firmer grip with this. When we have a firmer grip, that ball or the bat is not going to absorb into our hand as much, and it's going to hit a little bit harder off of the bat. Does that make sense? Beautiful. For the first round, what I want us doing, we're going to go down first base, okay? When I'm grabbing the ball out of the bucket, okay, and I'm just here, I want you guys in your stance. When you guys see me come to my belly, that's when I come set. I want us to show our bunt. We're going to get to the front of the box. Yes, yes. We're in a sacrifice situation. When we see this pitcher start coming set, not waiting till they get set, but when they start coming set, that's when we're going to show. Now, there are going to be some times where you'll find that a pitcher has forever long holds, and when they're doing that to allow their guys to get set, that can actually work in our favor. So again, if we show there's a runner on first, and all of a sudden this third baseman comes crashing like crazy, now we go, all right, I now know I'm going to first base side, and in the future, we have the possibility of slashing, like we talked about earlier. In our stance, one of the things that we're gonna look to do is we're gonna start with the bat at the very tippity top of the zone, and then if it's a lower pitch, we're gonna keep the same angle of our elbows. We're going to bend with our knees to get to that low pitch. Does that make sense? Yeah, exactly. We're gonna look to keep, that bat is not going to change. Our knees are going to change, okay? Now be careful of getting that barrel down, okay? Allow your knees to bring you down there, okay? Foul, or when we start dropping that barrel, that's when that ball is gonna get popped up. And if we have an idiot base runner that's going double play, or if we bunt that up, he has to stay, and now you're out, and we didn't get the sacrifice because they didn't advance.
You have to do bunts every single day at practice, and I suck.
Why do you think?
I like hit balls.
Why do you think we're working on it right now? There you go. It's all right. Let me see you get your head a lot closer to the barrel. There you go. Now pause right there. Don't move, okay?
Oh,
now,
yeah,
let me see this. Go ahead and relax. I'm gonna lay this bat down. This is one of the things I kind of want to just see, so that way it could be a good example. How much of your bat right now is actually covering the plate? Maybe a couple of inches of the end cap. So like you see how our bat...
Get like way closer.
Not necessarily, if possibly we need to.
Or just like reach, like get farther over.
In a sacrifice situation, are you guys gonna bunt balls or are we gonna bunt strikes?
Anything.
In a sacrifice?
Oh, no, squeeze, sacrifice strikes. No.
Exactly, and only strikes, right? Because if they're willing to walk us, that plays into our factor. Now the next guy is gonna be the one that lays down the bunt. Now we're sacrificing two guys over, right? So we're only gonna look to bunt strikes in this situation. So if we're trying to move our bat as minimal as possible, so when we have that low pitch, we don't move our bat at all, we just bend the knees, right? So if we're trying to move this bat as little as possible, okay, I'm gonna want you guys to start with your bat in the strike zone already. So that way, if it is a strike, we just gotta go up, down. We already have our angle preset. We're watching it hit the barrel. If I start with my bat in front of me, when it is a strike, I'm gonna have to move. When it's a ball, I'm gonna have to move. So no matter what, your bat is gonna be moving, and that's gonna be inconsistent. If we can start with it in the zone, now the only time it moves is when it's a ball, or when we go to slash. Does that make sense? So let me see you start, whether that's getting a little bit closer. Remember, we can't get out of the box, right? Or whether that, yeah, leaning a little bit more, okay? Great job. Closer to the front. There you go. More bat over the plate. There you go. How much better is that? Oh yeah, great job. That's right. Did you notice how we kind of pushed out to go get that? Okay. If it's a ball, right, if it's not gonna get there, then we take. The only time we're gonna bunt this is if it can get to us and it is a strike. So if that's gonna end up being too low, pull back. Otherwise, at some point that will get to you. So that way we don't have to go reach for it, okay? How much better is that? Oh yeah. Does that feel a little bit easier than what you were doing before? Okay, now we're gonna look to go to third base. Same everything. Instead of having the knob out, we're gonna pull the knob in, so that way we can work to third. All right. Let me see your back get a little further out, and then bring that knob just a hair closer. More knob over, or more bat over the plate. There you go. There. There. One more. There it is. Money, great job. Switch. Let me see you bring your head a lot closer to it. Get your head behind the barrel. There you go. Better.